Hi everyone, this is Clara with Card Stamping with Clara, and I'm back today to show you some more cards. Today we're going to do a really simple card, but we're going to focus on embossing. So if you folks don't know how to emboss or have some questions about it, then I hope that I'll be able to answer them for you. Before we get started, if you would please push that subscribe button and maybe a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Hopefully not, but anyway, whatever you feel like doing. Just be honest about it. So if you need a product this week, I have a host code. If it's under $150, I really appreciate you using that. Let's get started. Let's start with this card we're going to make for today. This card is literally going to be really simple. On the outside, it says, some people just are likable. And then on the inside, you're one of those people. So I'm going to talk about this card in just a few minutes. And now I'm going to show you the products that I use to make it and these other cards, which I will show you individually. The set that we're going to be focusing on this week is called Beauty of Tomorrow. It has lots of pretty sprigs of greenery, or whatever you want to call these different things that look like fall. It's got a pretty bird that looked to me like a bluebird or a blue jay. It's got some sentiments. I'm here for you. Some people are just likable. You're one of those. I know this is a difficult day, and the leaves are changing. Reminds us that new wonders are just around the corner. So those are the products that are in this stamp set, and it is a cling set. So I've got two of the pieces out that we're going to use. So that is the stamp set, and I picked up the wrong one. I'm sorry. The dies that go with it is this big set of leaves, which is why I bought it, to be honest. And then there's the different pieces in here that you can kind of get a glimpse of, where you can cut out that sprig and some leaves and the bird and what have you. So those are additional pieces. I'm not using it on that first card, but I did on the others. And I am also going to be using the labels from the seasonal label die set. And this has been one that I've been using every week. It's got all these beautiful dies, and it comes as a set with stamps. We're not going to talk about the stamps today. And different things that you can cut out, pine cones, little berries for holly. And this label die, I'm using it a lot today, as well as some of the others. So this is a really nice set for labels if you need something to make labels. And the last thing you will notice here is that I have a big bird as well as the little bird, and it comes from the Happy Holidays. So that gives you an idea of where I got the products from. This second card is the one that I made to look like a Christmas card. It did come from that Happy Holidays. And I used vellum, the soft succulent vellum. I also cut out some holly and what have you on this one. And I used that same die to cut out my label underneath there that's in the set we're using today. And then I put wishing your family health and happiness throughout the coming year. And this is done in the shaded spruce color. So that's one. That's the one Christmas card this week. This is a fall card, and I used the Early Espresso ink, the Early Espresso as a border. This is pale papaya vellum that I cut some of those leaves out of. That one big piece to fit over a good portion of the card. Then I cut out two of the sprigs, and I stamped those in Early Espresso. Put a little bow with gold and a little bit of baker's twine that I had in my drawer. The gold is available, and you've probably got some baker's twine around. And I just thought this looked more like a, maybe a card where you'd want to write a note. So I didn't put a sentiment in this one. I did have some little stamps of little leaves, and I put that in the corner. This one might be one that I am more happy with, or maybe most happy with. I sponged the background with the balmy blue, just real light. Then I went back and I stamped the birds in a little darker color, or maybe it was a light, I don't believe it was Night of Navy. It might have been that I just put more of the ink of the balmy blue, and then I know I used some blends and darkened them up a little bit. That's what I did. I'd almost forgotten. I did these several days ago, and sometimes I forget. But anyway, I stamped the sprigs. I used the blends to add color. This is the Blackberry Bliss, and so I tried to coordinate the colors, and I just liked the way it turned out. It was one I liked anyway. And then on the inside, it's the same sentiment. You're one of those people, and I just stamped it in the Blackberry Bliss on the inside, the little image. So that was another card, and you might take notice, none of these cards have any designer series paper in them, and the reason is the paper is not gotten here yet, I don't think, that goes with this set, but I like the set, and it's fall, and I wanted to try it. So you can see what you can do when you don't have designer series paper. So this is this set of that die of leaves again, and I sponged 2 or 3 colors on a piece of white cardstock, and just did it in different places, and tried to make sure it was smooth. Some lighter areas, some darker areas, and I do like the effect that it gives it when you cut out the leaves. Then it looks almost like it happened that way. It was fall, That's the way leaves really look. They're not all the same color. Then I put that sentiment on, the changing of leaves, and a couple of little leaves to embellish it. And this one too, I left as a just a note card. So here's one that could be used for a sympathy card, or maybe just somebody that's going through a rough time of, who knows what. So I did it in Night of Navy. That's the Night of Navy that I had in my head a minute ago. And it says, I know this is a difficult day. And I put 3 little pearls, and then I colored this in 2 different colors, one being the light Night of Navy and the other the Blackberry Bliss, the light Blackberry Bliss. And the Night of Navy is the border color there. And I stamped this in Night of Navy, and the same sentiment on the inside. Not a lot of difference there, but with a few of the same sentiments, I'm just trying to use the things out of the set as much as I can. This is almost a monochromatic card. I used the Early Espresso ink, stamped it all in Early Espresso, and the only thing, I had some little gems that I got Lord only knows where, but anyway, I thought they just kind of added a nice touch for fall. And then the inside, I put a little bird on this one instead of the, flowers or twigs or whatever you want to call it. And the last one, this is done with the gold vellum. And this is the, I've had a senior moment, excuse me. It's soft suede. And honestly, I just cut out a little branch for the bird to sit on, and colored it in blue. I like bluebirds, I guess. use some of the little gems that came from the New Colors set of gems, and pretty much the same thing on the inside. Okay, that gives you a good look at these extra cards. And now we're going to go back to the one that we're going to make today. And like I said, I don't think this is going to take very long because it's very simple. It's just a matter of understanding how to do the embossing technique. This is with powder embossing. So, I already fixed the inside of this one. Okay, here we go, I think. The card is going to be in a horizontal fashion, but it still measures the same, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I use the evening evergreen, if I can get it out, as a border color this time. Still stamping in the early espresso on the inside. So I'm going to lay that part over. That's the inside. That's just, you know, if you can do the front, you can do the inside. So I go ahead and do that so that you don't have to be concerned with it. All right. So you're going to need 2 pieces of this. One's already in the card, and this is the second piece that we're going to use on the front. And I already have fixed a panel that is embossed in the gold. I hope you can see how pretty that looks against the very vanilla cardstock. That's what that is. It's very vanilla. And I also embossed the label. And I've got the second label cut out, and I'm going to show you how to put it behind this one. But for right now, I'm going to lay this over here, and I'm going to show you how I got the effect on this front. We're going to stamp it so you can see it done. I'm using this big sprig. I honestly don't know what to call it because it looks green at the bottom, almost like pine, and then it's got little berries or something at the top. So I'm kind of perplexed by that. And the little bird stamp. And I've just got a couple of block stamps today. I'm going to lay this down just to protect where I drop off the stamp to stamp the Versamark. As far as doing the embossing technique, you're going to need Versamark ink pad, and you will need something that I keep in a little baby jar here, and this one's getting a little bit worn, but I've got one that's fuller if I run out. This is called an embossing buddy, and the only purpose of the embossing buddy is to do this. You take it and you just rub it across your paper, and it's to remove any static that might be on your paper that will interfere with your embossing powder. So if you got a whole lot on it, you know, I just sort of, but that takes care of it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take this stamp and the Versamark ink again. And all this is kind of a clear and sticky ink. And you can just start wherever you want to, and you can put this down however you want to. But I like to let a little bit hang off the edge. It makes it look more real. And all you do is, I hope you can see this, I'm just stamping putting the ink on the stamps, what I'm trying to say. And I'm leaning back away from it to see where I have stamped, because I don't want to stamp on top of something I've already stamped on. And as you can see, this is kind of sticky. It came up with that. You can turn it over either way to put your Versamark on. Sometimes sometimes I just do this way, and sometimes I do it that way. That's what I'm trying to say. I think I'm just going to put 3 of these on today. Okay. I think I'm okay. I'm going to lay that over. Sometimes you can get a little tiny speck where you don't mean for it to. And what I'm going to do, I'll tell you what, I'll wait till, so you can see it better, because I did a little bit on this one. Your embossing powder can be put in something like this. It comes in a little container like this. This happens to be silver. I just reached over. But that's what it looks like. That's the way it comes. And then you can either pour it out of that, or you can pour it out of this. And this is handy, but sometimes it it takes up a lot of space. So it's just a matter, and you don't have to put that much on, but you want a good coverage. Then what you do is you just kind of jiggle it around and hold it over. I'm going to hold it over this container. Now, you can see, I'm going to turn it around. And I'm going to let it slide back some in the other direction. And then over the other corner. Now, okay. What you want to do is you want to tap it to get the excess off. And then I'll set this over. Now this is what I was talking about. There's a couple places here. Right there's one. I'm going to try my best to get right under the camera. I have just a little bit. I'm going to take a pencil eraser. And you just kind of blow it away. Right there's a little bit. What that is it picked it up off the edge of the stamp. And that's why I like stamp apparatuses and things like that. But with one like this, you pretty much have to use a block because you're moving the paper around. I don't want this to look bad, so that you can see how I did it. Okay. All right. Now, with that done, I'm going to turn on my heat tool. You hear a little hum, that's what it is. And you can turn it on a little ahead of time if you want to, but just to kind of preheat it. But what I want you to see is when this starts to change colors. I've got the heat tool aimed at it now. I'll put my glasses back on here. And can you see the magic, as they call it? It starts turning as it melts the embossing powder. Now you can see I'm using these tweezers, and the reason I'm using the tweezers is to keep it from burning my fingers. I'm doing this one on a thin piece of, well, maybe I shouldn't say thin piece, but it's not the thick cardstock, and I actually prefer to do it on the thick cardstock. Because if you do it on the thick cardstock, it doesn't kind of roll over as much. Anyway, let's see what we got here. Sometimes what I like to do is just take like a Swiffer or something and pick up any extra dust. Okay, that's all there is to embossing with powder. So there's the technique. You just clean your cardstock with the buddy here, the embossing buddy. Stamp your image on with the Versamark. And like I said, you just have to get to where you can see the light, see that it's stamped, even though it may it may not show up, you know, not like this, but it's still there. And then when you sprinkle on the gold powder, you can see it. So that's what I'm trying to get you to see and to understand. And this is just for people that haven't embossed before. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and put this together. This one's cool and what have you, got the birds on it, so we'll save a little time here. But you do the birds exactly the same way. So we're going to put a little glue on the back of this one. Okay, that ought to do it, I think. And I will say this, if you have questions, sometimes, you know, when you know how to do something, you're prone to forget to tell somebody else some little detail that may seem obvious to you because you've been doing it for a while. But if you have any questions, you see my video or what have you, just ask me in the remarks, or you can go to my web page and, you know, leave a message, a question, or whatever, and I will try to answer it for you. If I don't know, I'll be glad to get somebody else that does know. Okay, then we're going to put this on the front. I think this bottle is about empty. Something you might be mindful of when you're putting your panels on your cards, make sure you got your base card turned the right way. I have not done this in a long time, but I was a little bit tired the other night, and I glued on my front panel and realized that I had glued it on upside down. So I thought, uh-oh, I really messed up. Okay, there's the inside, the outside. Remember, it's the evening evergreen. And now I'm going to show you how to put a border around your sentiment. You just cut your sentiment out like you normally would, what you want to show. And to make the border, you cut a piece of cardstock, whatever color. In this case, it's the Evening Evergreen. It's one of the new colors. And this is kind of a narrow one, and it might be a little bit more awkward to do this, but it certainly works, and you can do it. Take your scissors and cut right down the middle. Now, you will notice I don't have a measure, anything measured. You're just trying to cut as straight as you can right down the middle. Now, I'm going to make sure I've got my sides kind of turned the way it cut. All right. The best way that I have found, and I emphasize that I have found, is to take the label part that's got your sentiment on it. Turn it over and put just a tiny bit of glue, as small as you can, right along the edge of the top side. You can do the bottom side first, it doesn't matter, but just half of it, okay? Don't put glue down here yet. Turn it over and line up the very best you can your piece. And I'm going to try to take a look here and make sure I'm showing this for you. And you lay it right on top, leaving that border that you want. And the only thing that makes this one a little bit awkward is because of the narrowness of it. Uh-oh, I hope I haven't goofed here. May have a little glue to get off. Okay. Now there's the first half. I'm going to turn it over when you get, let me reach over and get a baby wipe. I've got just a tiny bit of glue on my finger somehow, and it's wanting to stick to that little label. Okay. Now then, we're going to go back and we're going to put a tiny little bit just like at the top. Okay, that should be enough. Like I said, it doesn't need much because it will squish out if you get too much. Take this, lay it down where you can work comfortably. That's the key. And lay it on top just like you did the top one. Oh, everything's wanting to walk with me here this morning, folks. Pull that out a little bit. I may have some glue that I need to take off of this one. Have you ever had days you just seemingly things just didn't want to fall into place, and other days you have no trouble at all? And I don't know what the difference is, but there is. I'm just trying to get it even. It's not cooperating overly well. Okay. Now then, what I'm going to do with this one should have been a little closer. So I'm just going to trim it into it. You'll have to trim you may have to, I'll put it that way. You may have to trim the ends just a little bit. I believe I did better the first time I did this than I'm doing today, but you get the idea. I hope you get the idea anyway. Okay. Okay. I think that'll do it. Okay. Now then, that's the way you put a border on. And because I got a little bit of glue where I didn't want it, I keep this in a bag. It's an adhesive remover is what it is. And as it gets dirty, you have to trim it up a little bit. But I'm going to hold this with my fingers because if I pick it up, it might still slip. There's a tiny little bit of glue that I can see under the light. You may or may not be able to see it. But I don't like glue sticking out, saying, here am I, here am I. Okay, that looks better. And there might be a tiny little bit right there. And it just cleans it up. That's why I say you need this as a backup for things just like for what I used it for. I'm reaching over to get my dimensionals. We're going to put a few dimensionals on the back of this. These are called stamping dimensionals. Okay. Get my little tool out here. Right there's a little piece of, all right, there we go now. We will get this card made, folks. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're going to get it done. Okay. Right there, like I said, these are stamping dimensionals. You just lift them off, and they have a, well, as you can see, this is a protective coating on one side, but they've got this other protective coating, so they don't stick to your hands while you're putting them on. And positioning them on your card. I'm going to put about 8 on this because I don't want the label to sag. That'll look bad if it does. Okay, there we go. I ordered me a couple of extra reverse tweezers because they are so handy. Whether you're embossing or putting on a label that's small or what have you, all I'm doing is popping off these protective coverings, if you wonder what I'm doing. All right, now then, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to use my tweezers to help me out a little bit. And I'm going to put it down near the bottom. I don't want to cover up too much of the foliage. Foliage is the word I need to be using, I guess. Okay. I think that's straight. Now, I did not do it with these. All right. You see that little tiny right there? Whatever that is. I don't know if that's glue yet. Glue, I'm guessing. Now, see how that cleaned it up? I think that's a perfect example right there of how it will clean up your the glue that wants to stick to you and then get on your card. Okay, I'm going to move this back. I did not put a design on the envelope this time, but you certainly could. I would suggest you either stamp a little bird on the front of it, or you could stamp one of these sprigs, about half of one, out of the early espresso, or, whatever you want to. But I hope this has been helpful. Like I said, this is a very simple card, but it is embossed. And this is one kind of embossing. This is powder embossing, and or heat embossing. But there's another kind of embossing that was confusing to me, and that was that you take a embossing folder and put a piece of cardstock in it and run it through your die cutting machine, and it will make impressions on your cardstock. We'll do that a different day. But for today, I hope this has been helpful. And again, please push subscribe. That helps me. And I hope it will make you aware of when the videos are out there. And I hope that they are beneficial. And if you have any questions, certainly send me an email or what have you from my web page, Card Stamping with Clara. There will be links on the video to that, so it'll be real easy to get to. So for this week, I guess that's pretty much it. Have a good week, and I will be back real soon. Oh, one thing. Before I probably have the next video out, that mini catalog and celebration is starting on August 3rd. So don't forget that. That's the day when all these things become available. This set becomes available, and the last 2 or 3 that I've done becomes available. So don't forget, they'll be available then. And if you don't have a demonstrator, I would love to be yours. So thank you so very much, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.